So this is a PSA that I'm putting out there. I am no longer considering myself, I know I have for a little while labelled myself as such, but I'm no longer considering myself a libertarian.
I am no longer a libertarian.
My friendship with libertarians ended. Hop is my new best friend.
Okay.
Because they are very cringe. They are very, very cringe. And this is just, I'm just going to put it out there. I have spoken to the chair of the Libertarian Party in the US. She's a very nice person. She's not cringe. There are libertarians out there who are good people with good
It's not
ideas.
all of you, it's just some of you.
But just most of the most visible ones are horribly cringe, don't speak to the issues that people are actually concerned about, and when they do speak to the issues that people are concerned about, they go horribly, horribly wrong, which I will show you as we go on. So first off, props to Auron McIntyre, who is a fantastic creator, who posts some very good stuff on Twitter, who's been very good at calling out a lot of the BS that some of the mainstream libertarians have been saying, and that inspired me to talk about this, because a lot of these people just are basically trying to sabotage effective political action, because if the state does it, equal bad. That's the guiding principle for a lot of these people. The state has set age of consent laws. Well, no. We will get to one example like that, sadly.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
This is what I mean. I'm on board with you when you say all of these people are cringe. Like, I really like John Stossel and people like him who are libertarians.
There are good people.
But there are people who are like, yeah, but what about tactical nukes? Or what about the age of consent? I'm just like, you're a waste of time.
Yes. I mean, so a lot of these people fall more onto the leftist end of the spectrum. They're very, very socially liberal. They hold incredibly socially liberal standards. And if you know anything about stuff like that, you know that to enforce social liberalism, you need a strong state, because social liberalism inevitably ends up going down the leftist route of, well, we can't have you misgendering that person, they're offended, get the pronouns right, bigot, and if you don't get the pronouns right, you're off to prison.
To join them while they serve their sentence for raping kids.
Yeah, well, while she serves her sentence for raping kids, Callum, get it right, come on. It's the same thing as like anarchist leftists who are like, oh, we need to destroy the state, then we can institute real communism. No, you need a state to be able to do that. But let's go and look at some of the examples, because one of the main ones that really brought my attention to this was because Nick Gillespie, who is one of the heads of Reason magazine, Reason TV,
I'm familiar,
who have done some very good work in the past. They've done some videos that I've enjoyed on YouTube, like compilations of all of the times that Bernie Sanders supported the Soviet Union. There was a lot of them, so it's it's good work. But then they go on and talk about stuff like Giorgia Meloni, who is somebody that I and many other people on the right have been praising recently. I know that some are sceptical because of certain pro-NATO, pro-EU positions that she's put forward, but for the most part, domestically, she looks to be trying to defend the institutions that made Italy great, including their national religion, family structure, a lot of these things, and in this particular
like if
speech,
I expect an Italian, that's what I expect. You know,
that and pizza.
Family.
The greatest Italian
family,
institution.
nation, and God. That's what I expect from an Italian.
Yes, and she's going on in this speech about how they refuse to be the perfect consumer, they refuse to be made out, to be turned into the pawns of global financiers and global speculators, etc. Because I would rather be a free person than just somebody who is free to buy as many Adidas as I like. Oh, freedom lies in my choice of what slop to buy from McDonald's. No, that's not freedom. She's talking about freedom as in freedom to live a good life. That sort of stuff. And then Nick Gillespie comes out just saying her invocation of individualism, that being unique genetic code, which is because she brought that up because she's pro-life, is incompatible with her invocation of collective identity, nation, family, and gender, and attack on consumerism.
Nick, do you not have a family?
I guess not. I mean, is this pure Randianism? Is he going like, I can only identify with my family if I decide I like them?
I have nothing in common with them in any way. I have no duties to them. They have no duties to me. Just as I slid out of my mother, we were separated, and I was like, bye, done with this.
I only love my parents and my family because it is in my self-interest to do so. That is it that kind of attitude that we're going on here? This is the incoherence of conservatism when faced with libertarian modernity. Who is this speaking to? If you have got a political platform where you want to enact change, who is this speaking to? Because libertarians tend to get sort of like lumped in with the right, and leftists hate them because they support like free markets and are pro-business, etc.
Own their own property.
Yeah, owning property and such. But if you're talking to the right wing nowadays, who is this appealing to? If you're calling the state of modernity that we live in right now libertarian, congratulations. You've just made everyone hate libertarianism because modernity sucks.
But also the idea that it's incompatible with family. Like I can't get over the idea that Nick, maybe I'm reading him wrong, but the idea that he doesn't think that these things are important or relevant to even his own life, I find strange.
I know, the idea that you can't consider yourself an individual while also considering yourself part of a group that gives you a sense of belonging.
You have a dad, collectivist.
Yeah, that's why I'm currently actually working on something just saying, like, the whole idea of separating individualism and collectivism is just completely stupid because no one exists as a pure version of either, obviously.
If you take it to the extremes that they're trying to make.
Yeah, like this is what's made me go, okay, people just going pure individualist are retards. Evidently,
you have a wife, communist.
You share things, you're basically the USSR.
You have children, take care of them, that's fascist, bro.
Stalin.
Sorry.
I know.
The idea that family's not important is just...
Is ridiculous. And he carries on as well. Contra Maloney, we do not become perfect consumer slaves when we are more free to choose our own identities, apart from what we're born into. We become who we want to become, a self-directed evolution that scares right and left equally. Now, this is one of the reasons that I've stepped away from the whole idea of modern libertarianism, just because of the fact that this is just a myth. Nobody is the ideal, rationalistic, self-directed person who is able to, like, micromanage every aspect of their identity to become the person that they direct themselves into. These things, the nation you come from, your genetics, your family, your biological sex, all of this stuff have an effect of who you are. And there's no escaping that.
It'd be pretty retarded to try to.
It would. And Chris Rufo actually responded to this with a really good point where he just says, why is it incompatible? If you just go down, yeah, here it is. Why is it incompatible? Individual identity is formed within the context of society, nation, and its basic biological structure, sex, and mediating institutions, family. She's providing a different basis for identity formation than that of libertarianism or statism. He's basically saying there can be a nice happy middle ground where you don't have to go autistically to one side or the other, Nick.
Nick has a history, and again, I do appreciate some of his work. It's just some of the rest of it, I really don't understand why he does it. I mean, like when Donald Trump came to power in the Republican Party, and he became a bit obsessed with trying to take down Trump, and I'm just like, I don't really get what your objections actually are.
I think some like the Reason magazine types are desperate to try and appear like non-partisan because we're the third option. We can be just in between the two crazy sides and add some reason, as they name their magazine after. But when there's such a broad cultural divide and when there's so obviously a right and wrong answer to certain questions, like should teenage girls be chopping their breasts off?
We're the voice of reason in the middle. Just one breast.
yeah, there you go. Come on, we can have mono breast. Come on. It really does come across cringe and like you're just grasping a sense of impartiality, which is not possible in this day and age. I'm sorry, Nick, they're coming for our kids. We've got to do something about it. We can't just step aside and go like, no state power here, sorry, because, you know, who knows what we'll do with the power if we get it. Well,
what do you got, family connections to your daughter or something? Ugh.
Yeah, communist. Basically Lenin. And he carries on in the next one that I found that Oron shared, which was this one. And this really amazed me because, once again, ask yourself the question. We are trying to put forward a political movement. Who is this speaking to? The problem with immigration isn't that we have too much or that immigrants aren't assimilating. It's that we don't have enough immigration. This will not win anybody over.
Even the immigrants in the United States don't want more immigration.
Yeah,
when polled, they don't want it.
The Cubans show up at Florida and they're like, keep the filthy immigrants away from me.
Well, they're all Venezuelans and commies. I don't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally what I fled from. Like.
Yeah, and please stop cheering on the destruction of the West on behalf of like globalist agendas in the name of growth. Economic growth seems to be the only reason that you put forward this position, because you're obsessed with the idea that, well, if we get more immigration, then that just means that everybody's more productive.
Yeah, you know, because India is basically a superpower by 2020, thanks to
over a billion people.
Over a billion people.
It only makes sense. Individual work ethic and cultural identity that you come from. These have no effect on you. They just show up, and all of a sudden, graph go up, line go up. Very good thing. I also took a look at Reason Magazine, their website, to see what sort of articles they were doing. There was a few good ones, but then I also noticed a few, once again, very cringe ones on subjects like immigration. And this is from the next month's issue, October 2022. Republican governors and attorneys general think, I think there's just a typo in the title there. Republican governors and attorney generals think every state is a border state. And the reason for such an incendiary headline is because states that aren't border states are sending support to Texas and Florida to try and stem the flow of immigrants going through. And this is a bad thing. Ooh. Is spending state money to prevent further disaster down the line when inevitably the millions and millions of immigrants who are getting through the border end up moving further north to other states and affecting them as well.
I got nothing. Just nonsense.
It's absolute nonsense. And then there's this next one as well. For Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, political stunts are more important than substance. And this is just blatant smear merchant work right here. When a federal judge ruled against the social media law championed by Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, it wasn't much of a surprise. The law, which among other things forbade social media companies from appending their own speech to certain user posts and compelling social media companies to host speech by elected officials, was blatantly, obviously unconstitutional from the outset. Not incidentally, it was also incredibly corrupt, including a carve-out for Disney, the state's largest employer. And sorry, what is this? What is this? They're basically just saying, let the social media companies destroy any right-wing speech, any right-wing platforms, because they're private companies. Completely ignore that Mark Zuckerberg and all of the other leaders of these big companies have said that the federal government came to them and gave them marching orders on how to do this. Completely ignore that. They're private companies, therefore they can do no wrong.
Yeah. Like, even if they weren't told to do this, I mean, it's literally the meme of the Gadsden flag with, like, a foot on the snake. But it's, YouTube, Facebook, whatnot. Like, at least it's not the government.
Yeah, it's completely retarded. So, shockingly enough, the state isn't the only organisation out there that can do bad things.
At least it's a McDonald's concentration camp.
Yeah, I know, right? It's ridiculous. Yeah. Florida's defence of the law was a legal embarrassment that asserted, among other things, that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act had effectively established a law-free zone over the entire internet and insisted that the courts should view social media platforms as common carriers simply because they wield massive power. Well, they do.
Yeah.
They do. They're basically the equivalent of the public square.
But it's not just because they have the power. They use it to suppress the right, explicitly. And quite often they get those marching orders from the American government. I mean, Joe Biden's regime's emails have been leaked saying they do exactly that.
Yeah. And
this is what I mean. Like, I've seen Nick talk about this before as well, and I'm just like, there's no way you don't know what's going on.
It's clear. I mean, once again, if you're trying to appeal to people, and most of the people who might be drawn into libertarian aesthetics and libertarian philosophy are going to be coming from the right, if you then put forward this cringe corporate apologia for the for the right of a private company, to ban you, it's not going to win anyone over, is it? How is this?
No, but also it's just immoral and stupid. Like, well, what on earth kind of logic is this?
I know. And then they go on to say DeSantis doesn't care about the Constitution. He didn't care about the legal particulars. He cared about his campaign. I think more he cared about the well-being of his constituents.
They keep emailing him saying I've been banned. I now have no outlet.
And they also keep saying, we love you, Ron. Please never leave as governor. I would be more than happy to just, like, Florida break off from the US and then just declare him king.
Is this the Hans Hermann Hoppe coming out? Or?
A little bit. Okay. A little bit. Well, you know the way that your Polish friends say the king will reveal himself.
Oh, you're there.
Florida's king has revealed himself. The same goes for DeSantis' recent actions against Disney. Oh no, not poor Disney! Although the governor exempted the entertainment giant from his social media bill, earlier this year he embarked on a high-profile campaign to revoke the company's self-governing status. DeSantis made no effort to hide that this move was intended as punishment for Disney's decision to speak out against Florida's Parental Rights and Education bill, which critics have dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill. And note the fact that this is
this is all like the leftist version of history.
This is just leftist framing right here, and which would restrict.
No, but it's just factually wrong as well. Like what happened is there was grooming going on in schools. Disney funded the grooming, and then DeSantis went, "No, that's illegal. We're going to take that away then."
And this is Reason coming out, going, "Well, at least it wasn't the government chopping your daughter's breasts off."
It was the mouse doing it. So.
Yes, it was Mickey Mouse himself doing it. This just makes it all okay.
You know what's funny? There's a lot of North Korean and Russian propaganda that depicts Mickey Mouse as evil, and
yeah, they're right.
I should dig it out.
you really should. So that's just a ridiculous article that's cringe, and Reason magazine should stop with such things. And they even put a tweet out that was just confounding in its absurdity. This burgeoning political faction makes it clear that the purpose in acquiring government power is not merely to prevent its misuse by opposing ideologies, it's to use it affirmatively to destroy opposing ideologies. Yes, that's all politics has ever been about. And sadly, given that the leftists are the ones who have overtaken all the institutions, they've been trying to destroy us, our way of life, and our ideology in defense of a completely degenerate lifestyle and something that is causing massive social decay in the West. So yes, I think it's absolutely right that we should root these people out and then destroy them.
Well, politically, I mean, that's what
politically destroy them. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, all politics is division. I mean, I don't understand what would be the point in running for office if you weren't trying to destroy the opposing ideology. You're literally taking political power away from them by taking the seat. I mean, if you didn't want to destroy their ideology, having that power, you wouldn't run for office. You would just let things carry on.
Well, you might if you're just an opportunist careerist who's just doing it to gain personal fame and infamy and power.
Oh, God.
But if you've actually got convictions behind you and want to, I don't know, try and make the world a better place, then yes, you probably should root out and politically destroy the opposing ideology. Are you all right there?
I forgot about Palestinian and Mickey Mouse.
Oh, no! Oh, my goodness.
It's a whole other thing.
I wonder what he looks like.
Yeah.
Is it more like Israeli Mickey Mouse?
It's not so much that. Mickey Mouse has been turned into a terrorist and is supporting killing,
Oh, I thought they were going to have, like, the Happy Merchant Mickey Mouse.
No, I think they probably have that too.
Oh, yeah, they've probably got both of them. The dichotomy, the duality of Mickey.
Sorry to derail.
It was good fun. And then there was this other guy who I've covered before briefly, called Thaddeus Russell, who is a libertarian who runs a podcast. And once again, he is on the cringe side of every issue, basically, where he's saying that I love reactionary traditionalists, value what they call beauty over the sterile aesthetics of modernity. But do they ever attempt to define it? Listen, just because I don't have a ready-made dissertation on why it is that, say, a lovely classical cathedral or a Gothic cathedral looks much nicer than an office block.
This cathedral's beautiful. Source?
Yeah, that's the point. It's this whole, I used to
provide a sort of.
I used to be annoyed by the framing, but Carl is right on this whole rationalistic bollocks, isn't he?
Why exactly is the medieval cathedral beautiful? Where's your source for that, bro?
And a corporate office park, not.
Oh, for God's sake!
Jesus Christ! And then he also responded to Giorgia Maloney as well.
My wife is beautiful. You're a source for that.
I'm going to need 1,000 words on that by the end of the day on my desk.
Oh, God.
And then he also had a comment about Giorgia Maloney saying, the nation, family and religion are where we find freedom. News to me. Once again, the real freedom is about which Big Mac I choose.
No, but also, you break that down. What if we just let loads of migrants come in so that we live in a third world country and then we'll truly be free because we can choose the Big Mac?
Yeah, we can choose to live in a country that's a complete asshole.
I can't walk home with my daughter anymore and it'd be safe. I have to live like in Afghanistan now and make her stay at home. But, well, who cares? What does the family mean anyway?
My whole statement on this is that meaningful freedom is not just having like unlimited choice in which kind of soma I'm going to take to make the pain go away. It's the liberty to live my life with my values and traditions, yes, without the state penalising me for it when we've got like a leftist infiltrated state like we've got here.
I love my husband. You got a source for that?
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's so ridiculous. I want freedom for me, my people, and not freedom for financiers to destroy everything meaningful to me. Is that too much to ask, Thaddeus?
Yes.
Well, all right, I guess you win. And then he also commented on something recently that we've been talking about. Do we now believe that high school students are harmed by seeing giant fake breasts?
Yeah.
Yes. is not that hard to understand. And this is a very similar kind of sentiment. And the person I'm about to point to next is not...
I want him to go down that line, just to keep going. There's nothing that can harm children from indecency.
Don't worry.
Oh, did I call it?
He does go down that line, and we'll go to it in a moment. But first, let's take a look at Peter Boghossian, who is not a libertarian, but shares these same kind of social liberal rationalistic beliefs, pointing to this image and saying most people have strong moral impulses about whether this individual should be allowed to teach their children in a public school, but very few can construct a good argument why or why not. It's more difficult than you think. Try it. And I'm just imagining the big brain soy jack. He's just got a gargantuan brain. Have you ever considered explaining why it's harmful for this sexual degenerate to flaunt his fetish in front of school children?
It's exactly the same as Vosh telling you, well, what's the reasonable argument for why child porn should be illegal? And you just say, I don't need to give one, Vosh. Yeah. I'm not even going to bother. Just no.
I really don't need to. This whole like sort of smug, condescending attitude of like, oh, well, can you explain it rationally? Do I need to? Do I need to abandon what I feel in my gut instinct? It never led my ancestors wrong.
Where's your source for this cathedral being beautiful? Where's your source for saying that child porn is wrong? I'm not even going to talk to you.
And here we go next from a very infamous article that Thaddeus Russell going, where's your source that Roman Polanski did anything wrong?
Oh, for God's sakes.
Yep. Roman Polanski, where he wrote this article back in 2009, but it was updated in 2017, so at least 5 years ago we can say that he still stood by this sentiment. And Thaddeus Russell also did speak to that Stephen Kirshner, the ethics professor, who was like, but what if the child consents, though? You ever consider that? He did that very recently, last year, so I can assume that he still stands by all these positions. Just saying here, whether Polanski actually forced the girl into sex is still an open question. For context, in the late 1970s, Roman Polanski, famous Hollywood film director, invited a 13-year-old girl to his mansion, got her drunk and had sex with her.
How old was he?
In his 40s.
So it's...
Yeah. It's nonce. He's nonce. He's a nonce.
But you got a source for that, Harry.
Oh, you got me. You got me. Oh, he's cleared of all charges. You're right. How did I not see that coming? But he carries on. She has announced that she said no, but has also asked for the case to be dismissed. Maybe because she doesn't want to go into all of the like awful PTSD of what happened to her. Maybe she just doesn't want to go through that again.
I'm having this debate with people.
Yeah. Yet it's significant that for 31 years, prosecutors have pursued Polanski across the globe to bring him justice for only one crime: having sex with someone. Here's the important part: the state deems to be too young. So it's only wrong because the government says it's wrong. Nobody has ever had questions about the morality of noncery before the state came in and said, "Sorry, guys, I know you're having a lot of fun around here. I know everybody's consenting. I know that the child definitely consented, but we're going to have to stamp a big no on that one."
I love that he thinks that came from nowhere. Nobody. It wasn't like the public think that this is wrong, and that's why it became law. No, It doesn't work like that. It's entirely top down, in which the state has come and told us.
Entirely.
You can't nonce kids, and all the libertarians are like, damn.
Same with murder. Everybody before the state came along was just gleefully murdering one another, gleefully being murdered with a big happy smile on their face, and then the state had to come in and ruin everyone's fun.
It wasn't like everyone went, how about if anyone murders one of us, we'll kill them.
Nothing like that. No, not at all. It wasn't that the state saved people's lives, it ruined their deaths. That's all that happened. I could go on, but he just makes a number of moral equivalences here that are not true at all, where he's saying, like, well, if the state can tell you not to have sex with a 13-year-old, then it can also do stupid things like tell you to only listen to their approved music and such.
Okay.
We already...
Okay, sure.
He's also like, I mean, we already...
I'm not free to nonce that I am basically being oppressed.
I'm basically in the gulag. It's so ridiculous. And this is the mindset that some have, and it's why I just have stepped away from this whole label and this whole movement for the most part, because this is the mindset of a lot of these people. It's childish, teenage, arrested development that purely because someone in an authority position has said you can't do something means that they're evil for telling me that you're restricting my freedoms, bro. No, there are limits for a reason. Freedom comes with responsibility. Stop being a nonce.
I know it's a lot to ask.
There you go.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast at the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as Carl's fantastic and wonderful speech, The Word in the Shire, that he gave at the Witten. You'll find out what else he's putting out. You can follow him on Getter, of course, at Carl Benjamin on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.